Welcome to YOUCANIC. In this video we're going to show you how to troubleshoot a vehicle and find out if you have a bad fuel injector. So let's say your check engine light is on, the car idles pretty rough, engine shakes a little bit. You have already maybe done some early testing, maybe change your spark plugs, and if you get any bad coils, ignition coils, you'll replace that. Maybe you suspect let's say cylinder 6 has a misfire. You probably can do a quick compression test on that, but after you do all those things you still have an engine that runs rough. So we're gonna, in this video, we're gonna show you how to use the YOUCANIC scanner to test your fuel injectors and determine and find out if any of them is not working properly. So right here we have our YOUCANIC scanner, and what we're gonna do here, we're gonna figure out if any of our fuel injectors are not working properly. So you're gonna go to Diagnostic, and then you want to select the make. Here we are connected to a Mercedes S-Class. You can do manual selection, but that will require you to select the model and year. Smart VIN works pretty quick on this. You just press that and left or right hand steering there. And then here we go to control modules, and then you want to go to drive, and then you go to motor electronics. Depending on the make, you might say something like engine control unit, but it's going to be one of the first ones. And then we go down to active test, and then you can see here we can this is what bidirectional support means, and you can basically activate or deactivate or turn off all these different sensors. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn off fuel injectors one at a time. Engine needs to be on, and the engine temperature needs to be above 80 degrees Celsius. So that means that the engine needs to be at a normal operating temperature. So as long as you drive the car or let it run for about 15-20 minutes, your car should warm up and you should be able to run this test. So we have this is a V6, so we got all the injectors here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn them off one at a time. So if you have one fuel injector that is bad, engine is going to run rough, right? So it's just going to shake. If we turn it off, let's say our cylinder 1 maybe is bad, and then we press F4 here to switch off that fuel injector, and we notice no difference at all, that fuel injector is working properly. Right now our engine started, you can see the RPMs are fluctuating, dropped a little bit more, engine is shaking even more. So that fuel injector is working properly. If we notice no difference at all here, we turn it off, we turn it back on, and this makes no difference on the engine performance, then most likely we have a bad fuel injector there. Or it could, sometimes the issue can be the wiring to the injector, maybe the connector, or but so this fuel injector 1, we turn it off, we turn it back on, we can notice the engine is shaking more, RPMs are dropping. Let's go to cylinder 2. So we do the same thing. We turn it off, we can see the engine speed is fluctuating. These are actually RPMs. It's wrong percentage there, but that's actually the RPM. It's fluctuating quite a bit. Engine is shaking more. So this one, it's working just fine as well. So we keep on doing this. We keep turning off all the fuel injectors until we find one that makes no difference, basically. So what that's telling us is that, hey, when we turn off this fuel injector, it makes no difference because this fuel injector is not working already. So just you trying to turn it off, it's already off. Engine is running rough because that particular fuel injector is not working properly. It's not sending fuel to the corresponding cylinder. So you can see, so that's what you want to do. You want to go through all the fuel injectors and find the one basically that when you turn it off, it makes no difference. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But in order to do that, you will need a bidirectional scanner. A lot of scanners on the market are not able to go to engine control unit and turn off fuel injectors or turn off other things. So you can see here what we can turn off. And then also with this scanner, we can go into this car. This car has over 40 control units. We can go to transmission, we can go to any of the control units. There's more, there's chassis, we got all these right here. We got body, all these different control units that you can read codes and do some testing of the units. Or what you can do a lot of times, if you suspect, if you got an engine that's running rough, do a quick scan. And what this will do, this will go through all the control units on the car. It's going to tell you how many codes, what the codes are. You can click on this drop down arrow here, you can see the codes in the engine control unit, and then it'll go through all the systems and tell you the codes. So this doing a full scan or a health check does take a few minutes, but you get a really good picture overview of what's going on with the car, especially if you have a car that's running rough. Sometimes you might have things that are not picked up by the engine control unit. It could be things that maybe are picked up by another control or system of the vehicle. So it's good. I'll show you in a second here, once this is run through, how you can look at all the codes at once and get a better idea of what's going on with the car. So here our quick scan going through all the control modules on the vehicle is complete. So as we can see here, this vehicle has over 40, it actually has 51 different control units. So everything is controlled by a control unit. So you don't have just the engine control unit, you have the transmission and the airbag and instrument cluster and TPMS and ignition switch, shifter module, fuel pump. Everything is controlled, has its own basically controller. So as you can see here, if you scroll down, we have a lot of systems don't have codes, but some do. So if you have a car that's shaking and it's doing weird things like that, what you want to do is you come down to report here after you run the quick scan, and then this is telling you all 51 systems found, tells you how many codes in each, but keep on scrolling, and then here we'll basically have a list of all the different codes. And this is what's important, because if you have an engine that's running rough, you can kind of go over this list and see if you can connect the dots and figure out what could be going on. So for example, you might have a bed mass airflow sensor, and that code for a bed mass airflow sensor might be set in a few different control modules. Sometimes the codes are related, sometimes they're not, and you might see one code causing more than one issue. But one thing that's important and you need to pay attention to is this current codes versus stored codes. So current, and this is a problem that's present with the car. Stored, like in this case right here, we have a stored. It says no communication was received from control unit intelligent servo module. What that means is the car had that at some point in the past, detected that, but it's not an issue right now. It's store code. For example, if you have a battery that's too weak, voltage drops under 10 volt, a lot of times you'll get a bunch of stored codes, because a lot of these control units cannot operate if the voltage is too low. If the 12 volt battery voltage is too low, they don't operate, so they just trigger codes and sometimes show you some warning messages. But this is the full list. So if you got a car that's running rough and you can't figure it out, it is good to run a full system scan. And then lastly, on the right here we have erase, and we can click erase. It's gonna go through all these control units, and it's gonna erase all codes that are stored. Codes that are current, it will try to clear them, but they usually come right back because you need to fix the issue. But the codes that are stored, if you press erase, you can clear them. Another thing you can do is you can actually enter any of these control modules individually by just clicking on it, and then you can look at that particular control unit. You can read codes from it, do some active tests. You can just clear the codes just for this control unit that you're interested in. So you can see here, we can hit erase, and that will clear those codes. But that's it. The most important part was about showing you how you can test the injectors, how you can turn them off, and if it makes no difference when you turn the injector off, then maybe you have found that injector that's defective. And keep in mind that just In most cases, it's going to be the injector that's faulty, but keep in mind sometimes the issue could be the connector, it could be the engine control unit that might have an issue. So it's not always just because we determine that, let's say, injector 6 is not working, the problem is always the injector. So keep that in mind as you troubleshoot a vehicle problem. Thank you for watching YOUCANIC, where you can be the mechanic.